Well, it's a pleasure being with you here today, but in order to cover asset management in 20 minutes, 15, I better get started. First, to add a few pictures to what Ingadóra just said. I studied electrical engineering at the university in Iceland. Went from there to Denmark, focused on power systems and IT. Later on, did some studies in Reykjavik University, got an MBA 2007. It's a time when the MBA sort of went flat on its face, some say, because of the financial meltdown. So I tried to redeem myself by studying lean management, which I'm actually quite fond of. It has a lot of good common sense items that are not that common in too many companies. Landsvirkjun at the time when I worked there was also a transmission company. Currently CEO at DMM Solutions. DMM Solutions is the vendor of DMM, Asset and Maintenance Management System, used by all the power companies in Iceland, and in particular the geothermal plants. And namely Svartsengi, which is the birthplace of DMM, actually. Nesjavellir, Krafla Northeast, and Bjarnaflag Northeast as well. Reykjanesvirkjun, Hellisheiði, close to Reykjavik, and well, DMM is also used at the Blue Lagoon. Well, asset management, what it is and what it isn't. First, a few basic questions. Let's try to get a simple definition, what asset management is. Is asset management sexy? That's sort of a basic question, I guess. And is asset management important? Clearly a basic question. To help me to address these questions, I will get some help from none other than John Oliver. Let's see, hear to his take on this.
It's our roads, bridges, dams, levees, airports, power grids, basically anything that can be destroyed in an action movie.
Get out of there! Damn it!
Holy shit! If an alien species judged humanity by our most popular movies, they'd think we were furious with asphalt all the time. The problem is, though, when our infrastructure is not being destroyed by robots and/or saved by Bruce Willis, we tend to find it a bit boring.
As you know, infrastructure is not a sexy or glamorous topic.
As much as I'd like to think otherwise, infrastructure is not sexy.
Infrastructure is not very sexy.
Yes, infrastructure, like those men we just heard from, is important but not sexy. Although, to be fair, that may
Okay, enough from John Oliver for now, at least. So he gave us some answer. First, well, a definition. Anything that can be destroyed in an action movie. That's actually a neat definition. What DMM is, asset management, sorry, both, I guess, is all about. Sexy, well, apparently no. But important, yes. So there we have it in a nutshell. These questions, 3 questions plus answer, actually say quite a lot. Does this work? Yeah. Well, the first one, actually, that's just a cool definition. The second one. Asset management has tied to it a really long time constant. Nothing much happens from one day to another, shouldn't. And thereby, maybe therefore, it's not very sexy, which may explain that it's all too often neglected or done poorly by way too many. Not by you, obviously. I mean, you're here to listen to me to talk about asset management, but by many of the others, you know. Which is a pity, actually, because asset management is really important. And it should be a core business for many many companies, especially at least for all geothermal plants. Well, how about just-in-time disaster condoms? That could help. John Oliver has something to say about that as well. Let's listen to that.
At this point, we aren't just flirting with disaster, we're rounding third base and asking if disaster has any condoms. And the crazy thing is, ask any politician from either side and they'll tell you that infrastructure is incredibly important. Everyone agrees on this. In fact, at a recent hearing, both business and Labour, in the form of the US Chamber of Commerce and the AFL-CIO, turned out to support infrastructure spending. And even they know how rare that is.
If business and labor can come before you united on this issue, and we are united on this issue, despite our sharp disagreements on a variety of other matters, I think that should tell everybody something and tell them very loudly.
He's right. The last time business and Labour agreed on an issue, it was the issue of how dead should Jimmy Hoffa be. They both agreed, pretty dead. Here's how...
Okay. So apparently, just-in-time disaster condoms, that's not the solution. But everyone agrees that infrastructure is important for the public, for long-term investors, and for the manager who likes his job. I do not want to be like over-dramatic here, but I do want to be realistic. There are some behavior that the public simply does not tolerate. We have recently learned, at least here in Iceland, that the public is not okay with politicians storing their money in tax havens while we have everything in an open and paid tax, all our taxes. But I also honestly believe that the public does not tolerate poor or neglected asset management. The problem is it's very difficult to see. There are no asset management Panama documents, at least none that I am aware of, but well, who knows? And unfortunately, a bad or neglected asset management tends to reveal itself with a bang. Catastrophic events that can lead to, well, massive financial loss or losses, huge environmental accidents, or even loss of lives. And I think we can all agree that is something that we do not and should not approve of or tolerate. Before we say goodbye to John Oliver, he has a suggestion how sort of to make asset management more appealing. Let's check on that.
Urgency in tackling this problem is insane. And you cannot tell me that you are not interested in this, because every summer people flock to see our infrastructure threatened by terrorists or aliens. But we should care just as much when it's under threat from the inevitable passage of time. The problem is, no one has made a blockbuster movie about the importance of routine maintenance and repair. Or they hadn't. Until now.
In a world where a few feet of concrete can mean the difference between life and death, where everything you love can be taken from you in the blink of an eye, a few brave souls are willing to risk everything to make nothing happen.
Hello?
It's time.
Excuse me?
For your biennial bridge inspection. I've got Thursday afternoon or Friday anytime before 3.
This summer, get ready for infrastructure. Brace yourself for 98 heart-pounding minutes of incremental maintenance.
I'm not showing any cracking, no delamination, no spalls on the concrete deck, but you got mild corrosion on the beams. You're gonna have to keep an eye on that. Thank you, sir. Don't get cocky.
The New York Times calls infrastructure necessary and something I never thought about, but yeah, sure.
Jesus God, Bobby, behind you.
seepage. This thing is going to blow. 15 or 20 years, which is why it's so important that we caught it early.
In this line of work, one mistake could be catastrophic.
It's loose, boss. The bolt is loose.
Well, then tighten it, goddammit.
I don't know which way.
Okay, listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. Talk to me. What's going on?
It's good.
Rolling Stone says nothing happens, and that's probably for the best.
I came here. I'm not sure I want to see this movie, to be honest, but we got another sort of cool definition for asset management objectives. That is to make sure that nothing actually bad happens. And that's a really neat definition of objectives of asset management. Well, asset management platforms, ISO 55000, international standard, TPM, lean management, RCM, reliability centered maintenance, homemade platforms based on common sense and common knowledge. I've seen many that are just brilliant, and well, various other platforms we have out there. But most of them have the following in common. There's planning and scheduling, there's work execution, obviously, maintenance engineering, and what is that? Well, to name a few items, to evaluate preventive maintenance effectiveness, develop predictive maintenance, condition-based techniques and procedures, analyze PM and PDM data for optimizing maintenance, reliability engineering, root cause analysis, maintenance training and coaching program, and failure mode and effect analysis for selected elements. That's sort of regardless of what platform you have, it's a decent one, it will have those elements in one way or another. TPM, as I said, I'm rather fond of lean management right now. TPM dates back to 1952, important part of lean management. It has a brilliant and sort of beautiful analogy, the mother and child approach. We have this nice picture there as well. And if you think about it, the mother is like the operator maintainer, the operator that also maintains his or her equipment and systems. The child is similar to the physical asset, and the doctor is sort of the maintenance professional. Well, if you think about the mother, well, most mothers, fully committed, constantly seeking what's best for her child, uses creams, lotions, and stuff to prevent complications, monitors behaviors and conditions, simple measurements, measuring, for example, fever, responds to minor complications herself, but calls upon the specialists if needed. And that's actually a description for operator maintainer, because he or she must have a rich ownership, constantly adjusting things, lubrication, routines, monitors behavior and condition, simple measurements, responds to minor complications, but calls for the specialist, maintenance specialist, if needed, and thereby freeing up the time for the maintenance specialists to focus on more complicated tasks. Well, TPM pillars, plant maintenance, meters like OEE and mean time between failure, Kaizen, continuously improving mother-child, as I mentioned, technical training, continuously improving operators and others, and simply enriching people. That's sort of the take on lean management that I'm really fond of. The international standard, first published January 2014, not that old, and it covers, it covers asset management from the cradle to the grave, so it takes it sort of all the way. Goes into, it covers asset management system. That's rather boring, not very sexy. But what does it mean actually? Let's say we will have a valve failure. It can't be because of the valve, maybe a wrong valve selected. It can't be because of a lack of preventive maintenance, but it can also be because of a bad system. Someone had pointed out again and again and again, something was wrong, but no one picked it up. How to get started? Asset management policy should be there somewhere. We can have integration with other systems, such as ISO 9001 should have been there. Sorry about that. Gap analysis, classical approach. What processes do we have? What is missing? Technical gaps as well, and possible solutions. Competence mapping. What competences do we have and which are missing? Plan for improvements, execute improvements, obviously. Check the results, and continuous improvement. Again, that's sort of the lean management approach to it. And finally, I'll let this be the last one, or the second last one, if I can get away with it. Asset management, it's not a rocket science, looking at one piece at a time, but it is a real challenge because it involves so many equipments, so many routine work procedures that have to be carried out. So many anomalies that must be attended to, numerous registration tasks, numerous risk management duties, and numerous employees and managers, the human stuff, and that's the complicated stuff, we all know that. And therefore it requires disciplined and flexible approach every day, every hour, IT system, and massive support from top and middle managers. That's the most critical thing to the implementation of asset management system. I'll go very quickly through this. I'm assuming that you will get the slides and you can sort of go through it by yourself if you want to. That's the elements of an IT system. Some pictures from an IT system. But to sum it up, this conference here, for example, it focuses on the advantages of utility geothermal energy and how they will benefit us. Steadily increasing thanks to innovative people, many of whom are on this conference. But in order to explore brilliant ideas through experimentation, we need capital. And in order to start the operation, we need even more capital. And this is all the sexy part. But then, whilst the utilization of geothermal energy with the needed physical assets and infrastructure has deservedly been gaining increased focus, management of these same assets and infrastructure has gained lesser interest. But still, asset management is a key variable determining personal safety, environmental safety, longevity of physical assets, operational reliability, and thereby profitability of the overall investment. Thank you.